Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to reviewing the Nightmare on Elm Street series for Halloween month. Now we move on to the seventh installment in the series, and this is another good one. I would say I'll now after what people didn't like the fact that the phrase of the Final Nightmare was more goofy and Freddy Krueger more funny and all that stuff, right? Well, now it was an idea that I think that it was Bob Shea, producer Bob Shea, came up with Wes Craven with Wes Craven that 1994 because it's the 10th anniversary of A Nightmare on Elm Street because it was released in 1984. So they came up with this idea, and which for the most part I really enjoyed this idea, and that is of course came about to be of Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And Wes Craven comes back to direct. And the whole idea is that it's supposed to like in the real world where you have like a whole bunch of people playing as themselves. Like director Wes Craven is playing himself. Bob Robert Shea, producer Robert Shea is, and you got Heather Langenkamp coming back as playing herself. Robert Englund playing him. Used to nice to see him playing him as himself as well as Freddy Krueger. And you got John Saxon playing as himself, and you get some other appearances from other members from the previous Elm Street films as well. But I like that. I like that. It was nice to see that most of these people seeing them playing as themselves, and now the whole thing is that okay. The whole thing is supposed to be like the whole premise is of Heather Langenkamp, which I think she did really a good job in this film. I think I put her performance above in Elm Street 3, which I still liked her in though, but just a couple of things that she, if the factors in though. But I thought she did a really great job coming back as playing herself. So, and as going through this, it opens up like it's supposed. It is like a dream. It is a dream though, where we have director Wes Craven. They're supposed to be shooting another for another nightmare film, right? They have their makeshift setting, right? And they didn't have this what's on here? It's not like, but if you look at the poster or different type of work, they have this mechanical animatronic hand, razor hand, which I like. I never minded that new to do different look for the razor hand of Freddy, and especially the different look, at how Freddy Krueger is in this film either. I didn't never minded that look as well, especially Robert Englund once again coming back and doing a good job as Freddy Krueger as usual, and the whole different look to him. Like you see him, he has like where he's wearing like a trench coat as well, and then there's these two technicians. They well the razor glove, the animatronic glove, goes haywire and it kills these two guys, and it cuts Heather Langenkamp's husband named Chase, played by I think it was David Newsom. But then she wakes up and there's an earthquake, but her husband still has those same cuts on his fingers. Says that it was from the earthquake, and they have a son named what's the name of the kid? Dylan. And Dylan is actually played by Miko Hughes. Now Miko Hughes is he's a child actor. He's been in a few other films he was in Stephen King's Pet Sematary. He's the Resurrected Dead son. He was also in Kindergarten Cop. He's the one that told Arnold like, oh, do you know women have a vagina, or that that little kid. And I also see him in a couple of episodes of Full House as well. But he was also in Mercury Rising. He was the kid Simon, the autistic kid Simon that Bruce Willis was looking after. The kid's parents were killed. And I enjoyed Mercury Rising. It's a good film with Alec Baldwin playing a good bad guy as well. So yeah, that's Miko Hughes. He plays as the son of Heather Langenkamp. And And now with the name, I was gonna say Nancy Heather Langenkamp, she's popular because from her role as Nancy from the Elm Street films, especially the first one. And she's not sure because she's seeing all these visions, is trying to take on play on the Elm Street films, seeing all this, and where she's doing an interview because she's afraid to leave her son, but she has she has her friend who babysits for Dylan. I think it was named Julie, likable character, another good likable character I would say, looks after him, and she's doing an interview, and like how could they bring Nancy back, dead or Freddy Krueger, but if they were asking if we were to play Nancy one more time, would you? And then she meets with Robert Englund playing as himself. You see him signing autographs and talking with talk with Heather Langenkamp. So it's nice to see Freddy. Give us a figure, but that's what he's known by. It's nice to see Robert Englund, looking just playing as himself. And he seemed like a nice guy too. And then she gets, and then after talking with Robert Englund, she gets a call from the production of New Line Cinema, and she goes there because producer Bob Shea of the series wants to speak with her, and she talks with Bob Shea, and she has this. He tells her that Wes Craven is working on a new film on another Elm Street film. He said he's right in the middle of making a script, and which really to play answer because she's having like Wes Craven, like he found out that Wes Craven he's having these weird visions as well as Robert Englund as well, because and that's all the whole idea. It kind of plays like into the whole. It's kind of a little complicated to explain though, but it's like it takes the reality of the world and it's drawing into the fictional world of the Elm Street films. And the whole idea, I really thought it was a really, which Bob Shea and I think people say that for short for Robert, but Robert Shea, keep on saying that, and Wes Craven, I thought they did a really good job with this. So they're both executive producers and on the film, and Wes Craven helped wrote the film as well. So Wes Craven, may he rest in peace. I miss the guy, but he did a really sort of a cool, interesting idea with New Nightmare. Really cool and interesting, and like for an interesting idea where he after speaking with Bob Shea, I keep on saying Bob Shea, Robert Shea. I don't know why I said it right all the previous ones, but I don't know why I keep on saying Bob. But I say it's short for Robert, but Robert Shea. And she calls like Robert Englund, and you having these nightmares too, and you see the Robert Englund, he's painting what he sees in his dreams, like the darker version of Freddy. Like I said, it's a cool looking version of Freddy. And then she talks with director Wes Craven at his place, and tells her about all the stuff that's happening, like especially with her son Dylan, because he is he's talking about this man as well, and at one point, like we talk about after the incident with her husband, because her husband Chase falls asleep and crashes, and during the funeral, which is all you can also get more appearances, people that play as themselves. You got John Saxon is there, Robert Englund, Wes Craven. You even got Tuesday Knight, who appeared in Part 4 of The Dream Master, who replaced Patricia Arquette as Kristen. You see her there see her there as well. Nick Corey, who played Rod from the first Elm Street film, makes an appearance there. It was nice to see him. They at one point they wanted to have Johnny Depp come back to play as himself as well, but as they said, he was too timid to. But Wes Craven, I think, he was too timid to ask him. And upon a runtime after the film's release, Johnny said he would have been do it. He would have been happy to do it. But I guess around that time, I guess for an interview that how Johnny Depp was busy because he's been a very popular actor, so it would have been hard to. But he said he would have been happy to have done it. So but it's too late for that now. But and more stuff with her son is like you so talk about, God can reach him, and when Heather Langenkamp is talking with John Saxon and the son is on the playground, he climbs up to the top, one of the things on the playground, and he was like reaching him, saying if you gotta reach him, but then he falls and Heather Langenkamp saves him and saying that he couldn't reach me. Or the instance where with her son also dealing with not also her son, but a little dream sequence where he makes like the little finger knives. And Heather Langenkamp was also dealing with things that she was being stalked, getting anonymous phone calls and letters. I think that was like a reflection in real life. I think she was being stalked. I think so. I think they put that real life in there with Heather Langenkamp, which makes sense because like she said that she is getting these phone calls and letters. Anyway, but getting back with John Saxon. Not John Saxon, Wes Craven, that she's talking with Wes Craven, and it tells her this whole story that he has to write the script because and his vision is telling him to, because it's how he explains about how with this evil, like if this script dies, that it's a story that dies out and the evil will be unleashed. And he's telling Heather Langenkamp, we have two choices, either you do or don't, willing to play Nancy one more time, because only she can, because to lock it up, because the first time the first movie she locked up Freddy Krueger. So, and I like this whole idea where like what they're saying right now when they go to his computer, it's copied down everything that they're saying in that scene. Like Wes Craven said, "Will you play Nancy one more time?" It says that on the computer. I like that idea. And then when they're finished talking, and then the computer screen says fade to black, and the screen cuts fades to black. So it's the real world is being altered into like a dream type of way in the real world. Like everything they're doing is saying it's happening right now, and that's what the script is that Wes Craven is making. Everything they're doing or saying, it's happening right now, which kind of reminds me from Spaceballs, like with Colonel Sanders and Dark Helmet. It's like, when does this happen in the movie? Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything is happening now is happening now. When? We just missed it. We're at now. It's kind of like that, whatever they're doing is happening now. I like that. This is, like I said, Wes Craven, I thought he got really creative and made an interesting plot on this. And then with her son, is been in the hospital because, do like more of the thing of being crazy, but also think that Heather Langenkamp is doing stuff, make her son being unfit to take care of her because she thinks she's going crazy because of the whole instances that's been happening, and he's being he's being kept there, and her friend Julie is looking after him, but then Freddy Krueger kills Julie, and you get a nod to the first film, how she's being she's got stabbed and she's being dragged up the ceiling like Tina was in the first movie, dragged up the ceiling. I like that death. It was a bloody death as well. And like she's reaching for him and he's reaching for her, and she dies, and this whole thing that with the older female doctor makes you want to knock her out, because she's telling Heather that she's unfit to take care of her son because due to her delusions, even though she got the claw marks from Freddy. But that wasn't the earthquake. And then one leads to another, where at least is really good a good scene where the son is the freeway scene where Freddy Krueger in the real world, he's like to our real world, he's invisible, and he's lifting Dylan up, in in the ongoing traffic, up and down, toying with Heather, and Heather, she's jumping into the ongoing traffic. You got this semi truck, like the back end, kind of like it swerves towards, sideways. I thought it was a good scene, and she gets hit by a car, but that doesn't stop her. She just keeps on right on going as if it was nothing. And then when she gets back to the house, she meets with John Saxon's there, and then you get to where Freddy Krueger. She said Freddy Krueger is doing this, and John Saxon goes, "Yeah, sure," just like he said in the first movie. And then Dylan is taken to the dream world, and then when she goes out to John Saxon again outside, you see him change his clothing to what he looked like in the first movie. He's wearing the cop badge and how he looked in the original movie. And now we see that Heather Langenkamp, she has to accept playing the role of Nancy one more time, and she goes and says, "I love you too, Daddy." So she finally accepts her role as Nancy. So she goes back to the Elm Street house in the movie where she lived, and goes to Dylan's room, and and it kind of takes some play on Hansel and Gretel because, like they mentioned with breadcrumbs, the breadcrumbs of sleeping pills, she takes them, follows them under the bed, she flies into this, this pit of hell where, the setting was where, in the opening of the movie, where Wes Craven is making his movie, the whole furnace and the whole setting how what you saw in the opening of the first, and of this movie. Now, I'll give one nitpick is that, there's a couple things. But the first nitpick I'm mentioning is that when she's falling, because he's like this Freddy Krueger mouth, like a waterfall where she falls out of, and you see she's falling down. The CG or the background is not that great. I will give that though. How when she's falling, it's that whole background as she's falling. You see her falling down. That whole background CG, whatever, that wasn't that great. I will give one nitpick to that though. But she falls, and her son is there, and Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund, she attacks her. She throws her to this pot of snakes, and she gets one snake and stabs her right in the eye. And then Krueger, he's chasing Dylan, and the one part when Krueger has Heather, and the son takes a knife and stabs him, and then when he chases after him, he goes into the furnace, and he can't get to him, and she's stabbing him, and also he makes his arm stretch up to grab him. He's about to making his mouth expand wide open, and she's stabbing him again, and then Freddy Krueger uses his tongue to wrap his tongue all around Heather. And then Dylan just takes the knife and stabs his tongue, make it look like a snake. and then they just push him into the furnace, kind of like Hansel and Gretel, because he mentions the witch is dead. Because he's kind of like, Hansel and Gretel, what he did with the witch, throw him in the furnace, and he burns up, and you get another really bad effect. I will give this another one too. When he burns up, he turns into this CGI devil-looking demon with the horns and all that, and that's another bad CGI effect. That doesn't hold up well. It's kind of like the same effect in Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare with those flying demon heads. The effects for that. Well, that was made for 3D. That was done for 3D though. But it's kind of like the same effects though. That does not hold up well, I would say. When he's being burned up, he turns into this CGI demon-looking thing, or devil. So that's another bad effect. But then they escape the dream world, and they're okay. And then the line next to them is the script of this movie that Wes Craven left for. It's like, Heather, thanks for playing Nancy one last time. The story or the evil is now locked away. It's now locked in this story of this movie, so the evil cannot escape again. So regards, Wes. And then he goes and ends with her reading the script of the movie to Dylan. So yeah, excuse me. So Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I really enjoyed this one. It's another great entry. Now I will put this. Well, I would say I like this better than Freddy's New Nightmare, even though I do like the one. Hell of a lot better than Part 5, The Dream Child. I'll probably put, and definitely loads better than the remake by far. So yeah, I'll put this because, like I said, my favorite of the sequels, my favorite is will always still be the first film, hands down. Sequel wise, number 2, because I think that's the most underrated, and I really enjoy that sequel, no matter what people say about especially our main character. Then Part 4, The Dream Master. Then no, actually, it's kind of hard for me to say if I should like this better or on this better than Part 3 or Part 3 more than this. I think I'll give the slight edge to Part 3 now I think about it. So yeah, Part 3 still, and then New Nightmare. And then as for the rest of it goes, Freddy's Deadly the Final Nightmare, and then Part 5, The Dream Child, and then goes to the remake. I'm not counting Freddy vs. Jason because maybe I should count Freddy vs. Jason. Well, because it's either you can put it as a Nightmare on Elm Street film, part of it, or a Friday the 13th film. It goes both ways. But as for the films that stars Freddy alone, that's how I'm putting it. And then whether you think it's a Freddy vs. Jason it goes both ways. So, but I'm not talking about that though. But as for the ones with Freddy Krueger alone, that's that order. But I really enjoy this film. So Wes Craven, the late Wes Craven, he did a really great job with this film. And I thought the whole cast did a really good job. Well, I will have to say Miko Hughes. I think the only film Kindergarten Cop, he wasn't that much with the whole Classroom Kids though, but I thought his performance in Mercury Rising was much better than this though. I think that's another factor in. He was alright, but he's just not wasn't the I think I just kind of I think throughout the whole movie, he's trying to do a sort of oh, he's coming for you, or doing those type of voices. I just didn't care for. His whole performance, I would say I prefer his performance in Mercury Rising more than in this movie. So I think he was just average. It's not the best. It wasn't the best. So yeah, and he's another child actor. It's just honestly, overall did not care for. Well, like I said, I like his performance in Mercury Rising because of the bond between him and Bruce Willis. That's what made the film work. And so yeah, I'll put his performance in that above this. So I think I'll put in nitpick is him, Miko Hughes. But the rest of the cast, Heather Langenkamp did a really great job. John Saxon, Wes Craven himself, as well as Robert Englund as himself. It was nice to see Nick Corey in there, as well as Tuesday Night, Robert Shea. The guy who plays Chase, Heather's husband, David Newsom, he was fine as well. But the whole cast for the most part did a really good job. And Wes Craven, he gave this really cool, creative, and interesting idea how it all the real world becomes this whole movie, one big movie. It's like I said, everything they're saying is being written down it's all on his computer. Everything they're doing or saying is being put into the script of this movie. Like I said, it's like Spaceballs. Now we're looking at now, sir. Everything is happening now. Is happening now. It's like that. That's why I thought it made it so funny. So yeah. Even there's a little something here on the back, dealing with the quakes. After intermittent art during filming, soon after shooting an earthquake sequence, the Northridge quake shook Los Angeles. That's where it takes place in Los Angeles. Says Craven, we are about to have rubble created for the movie, but instead we are able just to go out and film from the streets. But don't worry, Freddy fans, it's only a movie. Or is it? So I guess there was really an earthquake during when the things where they were supposed to have an earthquake scene, so I guess they left it out in there. That was nice. Otherwise you couldn't be able to tell in the movie, but yeah. But I really enjoyed Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It got positive reviews. It has a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes and has 6.4 on IMDb. Box office wise, it didn't make quite as much, surprisingly, considering that Wes Craven came back to direct. It made about 19 million, considering that it was released in the month of October, and for the 10th anniversary of Nightmare on Elm Street as well. So it didn't do quite over that. Well, it still made back the budget still, but it wasn't that huge of a hit, you know. It only made 19 million, and part 3 and 4 are still has the time still made the most money, and it made much less than the first Nightmare on Elm Street and even Freddy's New Nightmare as well, and even part 5, The Dream Child, and part 2 as well. So out of all those ones, this was the least grossing one in the series until Freddy vs. Jason came out. But yeah, out of all the series, this was the least grossing movie. It's quite a shame though. But Robert Englund, I do like this different look to Freddy as well, makeup wise, and the razor hands, and the settings, and all the other interesting ideas. So yeah. But so that's my review of Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I miss the guy. May he rest in peace. And the film is much longer as well. If you take out end credits, well, this is 112 minutes, but take out end credits, it's much less than that. So it's definitely much longer than all the other ones. But yeah, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Give it definitely a thumbs up for this one. But thanks for watching, and stay tuned for now moving on when I review Freddy vs. Jason. Hooray. Well, it's mixed though, but I still overall like the movie. But yeah, but stay tuned for that though. Later.